In today's story, step into the future with frustrated students who uncover the devastating impact of 21st century environmental choices. Learn about the crucial turning points that led to the loss of Earth's natural wonders and where our planet may end up in the year 2100. The state-of-the-art classroom in the year 2100, brimmed with technology that would have seemed unfathomable a few decades ago. The walls themselves were gigantic smart screens, displaying information and connecting the students to vast databases and research portals. Each student's desk had built-in holographic projectors and augmented reality interfaces. They interacted with lessons using smart glasses and gloves, making the learning experience deeply immersive. A class of eager first-year university students settled into their seats, ready to engage in a discussion about the environmental history of the 21st century. The atmosphere was already charged with an undercurrent of anger and curiosity. The lecturer, Dr. Valencia, activated the room's central display, revealing a breathtaking, pristine forest. Towering trees with leaves shimmering in the sun, clear streams glistening, and the other sounds of a healthy ecosystem echoed. Amidst the lush canopy, birds of vibrant colors flitted about like jewels in an emerald sky, while majestic jaguars roamed the forest floor, their movements silent and stealthy. "This," she began, her voice filled with reverence, "is how parts of our Earth looked less than 100 years ago." There was a collective sigh from the students. Many of them had never seen such scenes outside of these digital archives. On the gigantic smart screens, images of magnificent creatures, some of which no longer existed, played. The room echoed with the haunting calls of exotic parrots, now extinct and never to be seen again in the wild. Maria, a student in the back row, signaled with her smart desk that she had a question. Why did the generations before us allow such beautiful forests to be destroyed? Dr. Valencia met the student's earnest gaze. Forests, our Earth's vital lungs, were diminished for several reasons, she began succinctly. One major driver was the conversion of these invaluable lands to pasture and crops for cattle and sheep. As the global appetite for red meat grew, vast stretches of forests were cleared. Additionally, crops like soy, not for human consumption, but to feed these very animals, replaced dense canopies. She continued, her fingers skimming the holographic interface to display the vivid green of palm oil plantations. Another culprit was the insatiable demand for palm oil, found in countless products from food to cosmetics. These monocultures replaced biodiverse forests at an alarming rate. There were also social and political complexities. In many regions, local communities depended on these forests for their livelihood, and in the absence of viable alternatives, they had little choice but to exploit them. Pausing for emphasis, she concluded, "Our choices matter." By eating less red meat and opting for sustainable materials instead of logging untouched forests, we can make a difference. The solution starts with awareness, followed by conscious action. Another student, Lee, leaned forward. "What about the ice caps and polar bears? I've seen them in old YouTube videos." Dr. Valencia played two videos simultaneously. On one side, the chilling beauty of the ice caps from yesteryear's Frozen, a dazzling expanse of deep blue and stark white, where glaciers stood tall, casting shimmering reflections onto the pristine waters beneath. The other side, a heart-wrenching juxtaposition, displayed a barren landscape, with the once robust glaciers reduced to mere patches, the blue waters now darker and devoid of the life they once harbored. Meeting Lee's questioning gaze amidst this haunting duality, she said, "Lee, the tragedy of the ice caps is deeply tied to humanity's over-reliance on fossil fuels." She pulled up a graph showcasing the rise in global temperatures alongside the spike in fossil fuel consumption over the last century. When we burn fossil fuels like coal, oil, and gas, We release vast amounts of carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. These gases act like a blanket, trapping heat and causing what we refer to as the greenhouse effect. Over the years, this blanket thickened due to our increasing emissions, causing the planet to warm at an alarming rate. Another visual showed the extent of ice cap melting over the decades. With this rapid warming, the polar ice caps, which are sensitive indicators of climate change, began to melt at unprecedented rates. Ice reflects sunlight, keeping the Arctic cool. But as more ice melted, it meant less sunlight was reflected back into space. Instead, the dark ocean waters absorbed that sunlight, intensifying the warming in a feedback loop. She then highlighted the ripple effect of this meltdown. With the ice cap shrinking, the natural habitat of creatures like polar bears and seals diminished. Polar bears rely on sea ice to hunt for seals. As the ice disappeared, they had to travel further and expend more energy, leading to starvation. Seals, on the other hand, give birth on the ice. Less ice meant fewer safe places for them, with compounded effects of reduced hunting grounds, increased competition for food, and habitat loss. These creatures faced insurmountable challenges. Her voice grew softer, weighted with grief. It's heartbreaking to admit, but due to these rapid changes, polar bears, seals, and many other Arctic species have gone extinct in the wild. The melting of the ice caps isn't just about the loss of ice. It's about the disruption of entire ecosystems. Lee, visibly moved, whispered, "I never realized how interconnected everything was." Dr. Valencia nodded, her expression somber. Every action has a consequence. And in the case of our environment, those consequences echo loudly across generations. Another student signaled they had a question with their smart desk. Why did no one act when they saw this happening in real time? A murmuring of agreement spread among the students. Dr. Valencia took a deep breath, the weight of the question evident in her eyes. It's a painful and valid question. She began, and one that historians, environmentalists, and sociologists grapple with. While it's tempting to believe that sheer ignorance was the root cause, the reality is far more complex. She paused, searching for the right words. For many, it was a matter of immediate needs overshadowing long-term consequences. For some, it was economic pressures or political agendas that muddied the waters. The undeniable signs of environmental degradation were often met with denial, skepticism, or downplayed by powerful interests, particularly by those who profited from the status quo. The room was silent as she continued. In many cases, people did raise alarms. Scientists issued warnings, and communities protested. However, these voices were sometimes drowned out by the confusion of misinformation, lobbying by vested interests, and the inertia of systemic change. The ambiance became even more immersive, as visuals of rampant deforestation of pristine forests all over the world, choking air pollution, and drought-stricken landscapes flashed across the virtual headsets. A student's voice wavered. Many students removed their smart glasses, tears glistening, feeling the weight of a world they had never truly known but had lost. Dr. Valencia's voice grew even more passionate. The climate crisis is not just about data and graphs. It's about lives, cultures, and ecosystems lost. It's about ignoring the warnings of the very earth we inhabit. A student interrupted, "But surely there were people trying to make a difference." Dr. Valencia nodded. Yes, it's crucial to remember. Not everyone was indifferent or inactive. Many tried to effect change, but the sheer magnitude of the challenge and the entrenchment of certain behaviors made swift action difficult. That's why it's essential for your generation to learn from these lessons and be the force of change we so desperately need. As she spoke of the ocean's transformation into a synthetic soup, a student from the front row inquired, "What about marine life? Were there any efforts to save them?" Dr. Valencia gazed at the screen, where shimmering images of the ocean's depths revealed a dazzling kaleidoscope of life. Vibrant corals, swirling schools of fish, and majestic whales gliding through the water created a scene that was both ethereal and awe-inspiring. But this mesmerizing spectacle soon gave way to distressing sights of marine life entangled in plastic debris, turtles consuming plastic, and vast stretches of water overshadowed by floating garbage patches. As heart-wrenching as it is to witness, the damage inflicted upon our oceans is a direct consequence of our collective actions and inactions. Dr. Valencia began, her voice echoing the gravity of the images. Plastic's widespread use continued into the mid-21st century, to the point where plastic outweighed fish in the ocean by weight. This had profound ecological, economic, and existential ramifications. The student's question lingered heavily in the room, and Dr. Valencia continued, "There have indeed been efforts to mitigate this disaster." The screen now displayed volunteers in coastal areas gathering mounds of plastic waste, massive ocean cleanup devices designed to collect floating debris, and dedicated marine sanctuaries that aim to provide shelter for aquatic life. Organizations and communities have strived to reduce plastic consumption, innovate biodegradable alternatives, and enhance waste management processes. Marine sanctuaries have been established to safeguard critical habitats and rehabilitate damaged ecosystems. She elaborated, pointing to visuals of thriving marine reserves. However, she added with a sigh, despite these efforts, the onslaught of plastic entering our oceans had been overwhelming for several decades. These sanctuaries and cleanup initiatives, while commendable and necessary, had been akin to using a Band-Aid on a gushing wound, when the real solution lay in stopping the bleeding altogether. She leaned forward, emphasizing her next words. The magnitude of the problem had demanded systemic change, altering production methods, shifting consumption patterns, improving waste management in less developed countries, and embedding sustainability in every area of our lives. The fight to restore our ocean's health hadn't just been about saving marine life. It had been about preserving the very essence of our planet and our shared future. While significant progress has been made in reducing plastic pollution and plastic use in the 22nd century, micro and nanoplastics remain a significant legacy threat to the marine ecosystem. These tiny particles have invaded all parts of the marine food chain, from plankton to whales, and their long-term impacts on marine life and human health are still under investigation. As the screen transitioned from polluted seas back to pristine underwater paradises, Dr. Valencia concluded, "Every drop of water in the ocean, every creature swimming through it, is a testament to nature's wonder. It's our responsibility to protect this legacy for the generations to come." Dr. Valencia, sensing the gravity of her students' emotions, took a deep breath and said, "That's all for today, class. I hope you're excited for our next lesson, where we'll delve into the reasons behind the world's environmental neglect and what we can learn from them to create a brighter future." Thank you for watching. Stay tuned for part 2. If you believe in creating a cleaner, greener, and more sustainable future, then you can help by liking and sharing this video. Remember to be the change you want to see in the world. Small changes can make a world of difference. Subscribe to EcoPlanet Stories for more inspirational tales and to see our next video.